communication. And some people will say that communication is 70% nonverbal. There's another school of thought that says it's 55% nonverbal, 38% verbal, and 7% words only. Whichever of these schools of thought you subscribe to, it's evident that most of our communication really isn't all about what we say. Communication happens in our actions, what we do, how we treat people. Also, we have these things like emails, text messages, posts on our social media. All of this stuff shows everybody else what's going on inside of you. Whatever's in you, whether it's good or bad, it's going to come out. What you put in comes out. There's nothing that's spontaneous or suddenly became part of you and then you react and it comes out of you in your words or your communication. Well, guess what? Something was already in there. And I'm not telling you to change the person you are. Be who you are. Don't be somebody else. And this is going to come down to our word choice. I've had neighbors before, and most of the words I could hear them talking with each other are profane words. And they say a whole lot of things without saying much. Where does this come from? Well, it comes from things they have heard. Either someone they admired, maybe in a movie, TV show, on the internet. Whatever they admired in that moment that told a certain message that compelled them to lock that in and then bring it to their command when it's time to say it. But just because somebody said something, you don't want to just parrot or mimic what they say, because what is inside of them doesn't need to be what's inside of you. Remember, what communication comes out of you is a reflection of what's in you. And so if what's in them isn't what's in you, there's going to be a breakdown. There are two branches of our spoken communication I will touch on. And this is a little bit opinion-based, so don't think that this is from like Oxford or something like that. But we have effective communication and accurate communication. Accurate communication is using the best word choice each and every time. No scholar would ever contend with you. Those of academia would applaud you. And it's hard to misunderstand you because your word choice is so good, except for not everybody has a large vocabulary. In these instances, those words are wasted, and you need what's known as effective communication. Effective communication gets the point across. Your sounds might not be right, your word choice might not be right, but if the intended message gets across to someone, remember what communication is? It's like the giving and receiving of information. It's supposed to be like a two-way road, so that if people want to work together, they can continue to go on the same path. Can two people continue to walk to the same place if they're not in agreement? You want to go to the grocery store? She wants to go to the movie theater. One of you is going to have to do that lovely thing we call compromise, because you can't do both. There has to be some give and take. And in our communication, if all you do is repeat things that you have heard, there are things that you might admire from a movie or whatever, and this is okay in sparse amounts. It's funny. But again, it's a reflection of who you are on the inside. So if you're just repeating everybody else's words, no one's getting really to know that inner you. And I challenge you to be a little more creative. If all you do is say what everybody else says, you'll never stand out. My challenge to you is to find better words. Give it some thought. Think about what it is you're trying to say. What is your message? And that is what you want to use. Also, if you are coming up into the world of business as a professional, there are some use cases where you can talk however, but there's many where you want to be professional. And the clients or the venue will appreciate your approach if you take out some time and consider the way you deliver your message. And yes, does this spill over to what you put online through your emails and your posts? Of course. All of these things can be replayed over and over again. The danger with words on a text or a post is they're very easily misunderstood. Remember that rule at the beginning, talking about how much of our communication is nonverbal. when I'm sharing with somebody how to learn another language. It is so much faster and easier in person to troubleshoot, see how they're positioning their mouth, look at how they're making their decisions, why they're making their decisions. So the course corrections are very small and they can get it very quickly. But all the time I hear people saying, well, I can just do this online course. Why do I need to pay for a tutor? Why do I need to do this? Well, the results, it's the results. Even if I tried to do my teaching solely online, I wouldn't have awesome results like I would speaking to somebody in person. There is going to be some loss. Even as good as technology is, can't replace that eyeball to eyeball completely. I agree, it's more efficient. Let me share with you a personal thing that happened to me. I had to improve in my communication in a big way. And it's not that I was using too few of words or I wasn't trying to be accurate in my communication. This is back when I was selling telecommunications. And my sales manager would bring me into his office and say, listen, before you send the email out, let me read it first. Now, why would he do something like that? Was he trying to control me? Well, no, there is a message, a tone behind the words that sometimes we may not be aware of. And my default factor was to use way too many words because I was so concerned about it being accurate that there would be no misunderstanding. Nobody's got time for that, right? Nobody wants to read a novel when you're just trying to get to the point. So there is some strategies in communication that you can find online, but basically a good approach is to come right out after a very, very short greeting, come right out and say exactly what the intention of your communication is, and then give some things that speak to that. Invite them to ask you for more information if they need it or want it or need clarity. And then at the end, kind of just go a very brief summary of what was covered. That's more of a business type of email. But the idea is, yes, be creative. Yes, use the right word choice, but also depending on the venue, you may need to be more direct. So being creative in our communication doesn't mean having to remake our whole approach to something. Here is an example. If you surround yourself with people in your industry, in your profession, maybe you have a mastermind group where you are pushing towards the same goal. There is certain words and phrases and maybe even industry standardized terms where people will know exactly what you're talking about in that circle. So you should use those words. If you go to a seminar or a lecture and you hear something that's put very well, it's easy and clear to understand, of course, use that as much as it serves you in relaying the same thing to another person. This part is great. What I'm talking about with communication that can be hindered in your creativity is the influence you're allowing from sources that aren't as credible. There are people that might seem like very good people, very smart people, they know a lot, or they speak about things that you're interested in, and you follow them, and somewhere in their life you find out about this huge scandal or something happens and you're so surprised. Well, this happens for a number of reasons, but one thing I can share in this idea of being creative is that our communication represents us on all these different levels. And even if you can wear a mask for a while, the truth's going to come out. There's going to be, if you want to call it retribution or judgment at some stage, and I don't care how good of an actor you were, time will catch up to you. And when you make your communication with others, verbal, nonverbal, all the things we've talked about, whether it's written, spoken, in your actions, try to focus on the intention behind what you are trying to say, what you're trying to get across to the other person or group of people. And keep in mind, it needs to reflect you as best as possible. So if you're using other people's phrases and words that you've heard from this source or that source. When it's not relevant or it doesn't speak true to what's inside of you, you're not sending out the message that will best serve you. So in this creative approach, remember, communication is like an art form. Remember, what goes in comes out, good or bad. So what you're feeding your mind can affect your creative output. And in communication, whether it is your verbal or nonverbal, your words or other things, keep in mind, you have a chance to be creative, and you can create your world in the words you say, emails you send, messages you send. And we can talk about this more, of course, but this is just to give you an idea to think about this week.